Hey guys, welcome back.
Hey,
Today is demo day. So yesterday we finished the front end and integration and deployment for Proof Pass, our little KYC demo app. And we have a special guest tonight, Warren. How's it going?
All good, Vickers. How are you guys?
Good, good. Yeah, Warren, would you mind introducing yourself and chatting a bit?
Yeah, for sure. I've been around kind of the Web3 space now for since about 2016, and I've kind of not just been observing. I've been kind of deep in the trenches, busy building and trying to scale applications and products like this that you guys are showcasing tonight. I've looked after a few projects, even some that has about over 20 million users, and that's active quality users, and kind of looked after them, supported them through their user journeys, and trying to make sure that they obviously stay with the products and the applications that's built in Web3. And yeah, I've got a publication network as well, a local South African one that's currently driving youth, kind of upskilling youth, and then teaching them how to write content and all those good things to get them a bit more skilled and educated. And I've just kind of finished off the beginning of this year with a new book that specifically speaks to kind of this approach, the architect, what you guys are building, what you guys are considering to build, how you're approaching that, or using AI to advance yourself, etc., etc. So yeah, I've been busy. Hell of a lot of gray hair. Pretty much no more black hair because it's been that crazy. But a lot going on. But I appreciate being here, and I obviously thank you for the intro and the opportunity to kind of judge this side of the world.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Mukhtar, would you like to take us away?
sure.
I'll send.
Yeah, sorry, Warren.
No. I was just gonna. Sorry, I was gonna respond to Michael there. Sorry, apologies. I'll keep quiet.
Okay, cool. No worries. Did Mike drop a question in the link to the book? Yeah. Do you want to tell us about the book? Because I think it's pretty cool.
No, I'll share it a bit later, but I don't want to take up everybody's time. But yeah, it's a book that talks about, are you still, the manager in the old way of doing things, or are you considering these new ways, basically this decentralized Web3 space, and how are you onboarding AI agents and tools to make sure that you don't fall behind in this new phase? But I'll leave it at that for now. Without a doubt, Michael, I'll share the details with you.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm curious around judges, or what are judges? I'll just lay the land for quickly, or the landscape. So what are like judges like looking for in like commonality? Like how are they all assessing something in unison? I'm also want to find out like what are judges specifically looking for, and then what are you looking for? And do you think there's a difference in terms of how a technical judge or a journey judge or someone that's in business development or a CEO judge or a celebrity judge, how they each judge these things? I'll start off at the beginning with the first question though, because those are 3 questions. Like in terms of like what are judges looking for in common? Like when they're looking at a project, like what are all of them looking for as a holistic group?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the world's changed, right? I mean, honestly, 2025 kind of ripped everything apart, and everything on the Web3 side of the world. And it's not about memes anymore. It's about kind of finding good quality projects and being able to assess those projects that are not just something that someone has drafted on a pretty presentation. So we passed those stages of pretty presentations, and then you'll get your $5 million, and we'll call it a day, and we'll see how it goes. So I think there's a few things when it comes to kind of what judges are looking for. I mean, if you just think about these worst case, the statement that everybody uses, North Stars, so North Star metrics. I mean, one of the things that you would look for is, does this actually work in the first place? So do you have a demo like you guys are going to show today? because the demo is currently the gold standard at the end of the day. At the end of the day, a judge wants to be able to see an application. They want to see how it performs. They want to see how it actually acts. Is it functionally working properly on a blockchain? And then obviously, again, you don't want to see all these pretty slides that someone spent hours on making look good, but the tech doesn't work in the background. And then you kind of wrap your head around, if this is a Web3, pitch or an application that you're building for the particular hackathon or whatever that looks like, could this have been a normal app? It's one of the questions people would end up asking. You kind of want to understand, what's the point and the purpose of this particular project? Does it use blockchain, and does it actually benefit things like, decentralization, transparency, digital ownership? Because if it doesn't, and it could have just been something else, you'd probably end up losing a few points for something like that. And then the other part is originality. Is it something that you just copied from some other bloke that's doing something similar, or another particular, chain where you'd find the same types of applications? So in the end, was it creative? Was it clever? Why did you use a particular type of protocol? And to make, again, sure that it's not something that's just a copy and paste from a tutorial or something that's already been around for a very long time. And then the last thing that I would say for this particular space is, at the end of the day, the code doesn't have to be perfect. It never is. But that the team actually go through that kind of minimal viable product and say, cool, I made it small. It's working, it's functional, I can showcase this. Yes, there's a few broken points or areas here and there, but this product is definitely, worth the time and functioning, and the live demo works in some form or another. So I'll pause there for a bit. Do you want me to dive into the other ones?
Yeah, no, that's perfect, actually. So I'll just lead with the next one. Is like, so you personally, as a judge with your experiences and in terms of BD and actually focusing on customer journey and user acquisition, like, what are you looking for in a project? Is there some sort of like unique fit that gives it some sort of viral kind of solution, or are you thinking of it as like, what's the customer journey? Are you marking them down for that? Like, what's the leeway that you're giving with the solution in terms of your expertise, or do those factors weigh in your mind? Because I think you're on these panels to actually give that expertise. So does that actually affect how you're scoring, or do you more score along the lines of the tech and everything else, or how do you manage those points?
I think one of the things that I've seen in the industry a lot is people build very cool ideas, and they're able to implement that, in the desktop and app versions, and all of that is great. But in many instances, no one thinks about, and this is something, of course, that can come later to a certain extent, but you can see it in some conversations when projects are pitched, that they haven't thought of things like, is this product scalable? Is it something that has a bit of a growth ready approach to it? So is it something that can handle growth? If 1,000 people rocked up at the door, did you think about the architecture in a way that says, right, this is how I'm actually considering building this, and this is how it could possibly run to make sure that I don't have any breaks? Of course, it's things you test through a range of different attempts and learnings. And then have you considered things like transaction speeds, costs, gas fees, and the user journey at the end of the day? Because onboarding is probably what kills 99% of the applications. And if you haven't considered that in some form or another, you're probably going to cause or be at a lot of risk. So one of the things I look at is onboarding. I have a look at how the user journeys are considered. Again, of course, in this current phase, MVP styles doesn't have to be perfect, but if you are not considering those particular scenarios and all those pain points from a customer utilizing and using a particular project or product, it's a big risk and a big financial loss that you're probably staring at. And then the other part is, did you actually write this so that it works for a human? Or are you currently in that crazy mindset that just assumes everything should be AI agent and run seamlessly across different networks? So how did you build this, and what was the end goal? Those are kind of the things I'd end up looking for as well.
Okay, nice. Yeah, because I think that that's also critical. Is the app usable? How much sense does it make to the average user that's just going to find it? Is it intuitive? Can a 3-year-old use it? Because those are the apps that really work. So cool. So the last question that I wanted to ask was, like, what do you think in terms of other judges? And I'm referring to judges reading the contracts, reading the code. Like, how in depth are judges going, like, in terms of the projects that they're looking at? Because obviously there's a lot of projects that they're looking at, and they do want to see some sort of Git repository. How much time are they actually spending on the code to see where developers are making, or where they are introducing security vulnerabilities, where their architecture is flawed, where they could have done things in better ways? Is it actually looking at only the product that is being delivered, or also the elegance behind the product and the code? Like, so that's what I'm curious about from the technical side, and also what the other judges are doing, whether those are business owners, or whether they are architects in their own right, or blockchain engineers, or systems architects, or whichever case. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's one of those things that it obviously depends on the type of individual and the skill set that's rocking up at your door, to judge. But at the end of the day, if you're staring in front of a VC and you're trying to pitch your project, the first thing the VC is going to be looking at, or in most instances, let me rephrase, in most instances, the VC is going to be sitting there going like, don't give me a pretty presentation, but make sure that you have a complete clarity and understanding with regards to what it is you're trying to pitch, or what it is you're trying to create. And obviously that you understand it from all the different angles, from a competitor angle, from the ability to understand your business model, what you're trying to achieve, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a whole bunch of those things. But then if you deep dive into all the kind of nitty-gritty things in the background, from a technical point of view, you need to understand, is your security considered? Did the team actually think about, how they would manage a particular scenario if, code is exploited? And this is going a bit high level and probably a little bit too deep for MVP style, but this is just generally the things that people are thinking about. Code efficiency, massive one. Is the code clean? With all the different AI agent tools and the AI tools that's around at the moment, everybody's become a vibe coder, which is cool. But did you just vibe code everything? And do you actually understand what you have done? Because there's a massive risk and gap in that particular space. And then have you considered the correct tooling at the end of the day? Your SDKs, your APIs, are they done correctly? Are they considered? Because at the end of the day, I don't know if you guys saw the hack that took place today. I can't remember the group, but basically it's quite crazy how they were basically infiltrated. And it took them, the infiltration took place 9 days ago. No one knew about it. And someone just waited for some code to actually, write itself and cause harm. So you need to be able to make sure that you understand all the different opportunities that could exist. And have you considered things like edge cases at the end of the day as well? And then you get the other guys, which is just like, is this actually, if this company becomes literally real tomorrow and it's invested in, how big is this audience, and how much can you actually, it was the Solana one. So how big is the audience? And basically, have you considered all those areas and those criteria to make sure that this is obviously worth the time? And then the other one is, have you just copied this from someone else's idea? Did it take you an hour to do this? Or is there any consideration that's actually taking place in this thing? And then there's always the grandma test. And the grandma test is a pretty cool one. You give that product to your grandma, and you find out if you're going to be hit with a slipper, or if or she's going to be able to understand what you're doing in the first place. And then the other part is, of course, security. From a user and a B2C or B2B audience member, how secure is it? How easy is it to participate on this application and to sign up and onboard, etc., and how easy is it for us as a product or as the product? How easy is it for the product to engage with that user to make sure that you can grow retention and keep that user on board? And that's kind of where I'd leave it. But there's a whole range of different scenarios. At the end of the day, when your product rocks up at the door, depending on the technicalities of the hackathon or the approach that's being considered, that's one view. In the end, is your product basically ready for business? If it had to go live tomorrow and you got the funding, what's missing? Where's the gaps? And have you considered this holistic view of a business? Because all those things matter at the end of the day, and they can be massive blockers if it's not considered.
No, fair. I think that's exactly what you should be thinking about. So thanks for sharing. I'm just curious if anyone has any other questions that they would like to ask. And is that okay, Warren? Do you mind if other people ask some questions as well?
Yeah, of course. Sure.
I actually have a question around that and hackathons. Given all those different angles that you mentioned that we should be thinking about, this would probably be best for a hackathon that spans over a couple of days and not just, these 2-day, 3-day hackathons.
Completely agree with you. From my understanding, you are the king of hackathons. So you put that name into Google. I think you've won over what? How many? 10 hackathons already?
Yeah,
now.
whoa. Just 5.
Just 5.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I've taken part in 6 of them, and the first 5 I won, or my product won.
Yeah.
And the last 3, or the last 4, I vibe coded about 99% of it.
Yeah.
But
go for it.
I was able to control the style. I was able to control the narrative and the language and the color scheme and functionality and all of that without getting too deep into the code. But also it did help actually being a programmer for a very long time, that I can just scan over the code to understand how it links together, and then also drive the AI to do certain things in a certain way. So it helped being a dev, actually.
Yeah. Completely, and that's the difference, I guess, when it comes to hackathons. It all depends on what you've signed up for to actually participate in. I think when I look at these things, I always consider that, and when you are judging, you of course always consider that. You're not going extreme and considering all this, the other things that might be a requirement. If you pass this hackathon stage and you decide this is the business you want to launch and push out into the market, then it becomes a different story. But at the end of the day, I think when I'm developing products, in the back of my head, I'm always considering all these other particular requirements and objectives, because once you start building as well, you don't want to kind of reinvent the wheel. If this is something that you are wanting to push out as an actual physical product into the market, if you're doing this to participate in hackathons to win the competitions, that's one thing. If you're doing this to actually push it out further into the market and grow your brand and your business, then it's slightly different, and then more considerations need to be had. Have you released any of your products? Are they legitimate products and businesses now, in essence?
No, they're not. I use the hackathons as a training platform to experience new technologies.
I love that.
I do have one project that I would like to rebuild properly. But I think I first need to experience a few more different chains and work through them. And I feel that a hackathon is the only platform or only way to really get focused on that technology, work through it, experience it, and force a build with it. I can try to do it after hours by myself, but after work, there's not really much drive for education afterwards. So that's why a hackathon, I feel, is a good, how can I say, a good time to actually just focus on a technology stack and then learn from it. Either expand on a previous project or just build something else, but actually take the time to be mindful about what you are learning in that time frame. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time, I think. If you're spending 2-3 days solid working on something and you haven't learned from it, it's not really productive, I'd say.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'll add to that. And the nice thing about a hackathon is that you get access to a range of different individuals that are technically skilled on whatever chain you're working on or considering, and you build some great network connections.
Yeah.
And that's vital in this space because it helps you expand your business and your reach at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, that I think is the most important thing, is going to events, exposing yourself, meeting other people, building connections, and that actually allows you to grow. But I've got one more question though. So you spoke about creating the project. What about iterations of your project? Because one of the things that I'm seeing as well is there's a lot of developers that come into Web3 and they fall off very quickly. And I was curious, have you seen any developers that have actually taken a project, built a bit of it, then taken it to the next hackathon and built the next component of that project? So they're basically iterating their project through hackathons. Have you seen anyone do it? And like, have you seen anyone do it successfully?
I have seen one. I mean, we actually spoke about the Clever guys, Clever blockchain earlier, but I actually saw a few of them doing that on different blockchains. So they would come through via Ethereum, so obviously had access to the most tech stack and they could use that to kind of figure out what they wanted to do. But then at some point they wanted lesser fees, a few more different types of tools that could support their needs, and then they ended up on Clever's blockchain as an example, and they basically went through a few iterations and then built out accordingly from that point onwards. The two things I'll say to that is, it helps and it works, of course, and it's great if you're building something that indirectly exists in some form or another within this kind of marketplace. But if you are building something that's very unique and you're trying to keep it under wraps to a certain extent, and you're trying to make sure that it launches, without someone, creating some horrendous hacky version of what you're trying to build and achieve in that moment in time, that becomes very complicated and very difficult to do. So I would say it's probably a scenario where those types of builds are things that more or less exist in some form or another, but you could probably do it better on a different chain because that functionality is lacking in that space, as an example. So that I've seen, but nothing very unique that has grown and blown up in any particular form. I don't know if you have. If you have, please tell me.
But no, I'm just curious about the approach, because I've been chatting to a few developers, and it's one of those ideas that I had in terms of growing your product, growing your brand, in a sprinted methodology where you basically you're using hackathons as your sprint periods, and you're setting it up over a long enough timeline that you don't have to assign all your time to do it, but you could also expand your team around a common cause, which allows you to work synergistically with other developers. There's a bunch of them that I'm chatting to in terms of India, Argentina, some in the US. All of them, like, I'm trying to convince them to do that methodology, and a few of them are actually doing it, and they've done more than one hackathon so far. But it's all under wraps, as you say, because I'm not going to dox anyone's projects if they haven't given me like. But that's also another very interesting thing that you said, is that don't necessarily be too loud what you're doing, and I can get that, but at the same time, it's kind of impossible not to get when you're doing iterations, because you need users, you need adoption. I'm very much for build in public. If you don't iterate, someone is going to steal your market share in 3 months, 6 months. That was the old paradigm. Now someone could steal your market share in a few weeks. So we are really at like a very cutthroat model when it comes to startups. and actually what's available, because it's no longer about having the better tech and then you're entrenched for a bit. It's about having good tech that someone that's influential likes and tweets about. And that's that whole thing of building in public. If you don't do building in public correctly, not a lot of people will know what you're doing, and you'll just become noise on the other end, even though you were the pioneer. And that's also something that I think should be balanced. But at the same time, secrecy is important, but so is being loud and just letting everyone try to copy you, just as long as you have some secrets on the back burner that you can unleash that still propel you again ahead. I think that's what all the big tech companies are doing as well. If you look at the social platforms, streaming platforms, all of them have the same sort of thing where they all kind of doing the same thing, but there's a little bit here, there's a little bit there. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I completely understand your point of view. Maybe I'm just too old school to dive into that too quickly. I think there's a little part to that. I mean, it all makes perfect sense, and it's definitely the way people are building right now. But I always fear businesses becoming cookie cutters at the end of the day, which many of them already are in every sense of the word. So, like you said, you have to have something in your back pocket to make your product stand out from the rest. But then again, that dives into many different things like narrative and brand and approach and all of that. But you only need one bad apple in a ecosystem. So if you fall into a category, let's say you fall into, I don't know, the sports category, and your industry and your app is built in that particular phase. You need one bad apple to rug a project in that particular space, and everybody is brushed with the same stroke. You all have the same particular issue. So it's I mean, that's happened to NFTs and all those things like no other. The move to earn industry is completely ruined because of one or two bad actors. So I would say be careful about the approach, and just from my old school ways, definitely make sure, like you said, have a whole bunch of good stuff in the background that isn't known, because in the end, cookie cutters exist, and unfortunately, the market's so big, it just becomes so messy. You don't even know what's the value anymore.
No, fair enough. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Okay, cool. So now can we do the nerve-wracking component? What do you think, Vikas? You want to do or unless someone else has a question. Does anyone else have a question for Warren? Okay, cool. Vikas, what do you want to do first? Demo, or am I going to do a demo pitch and then you're going to do a demo? I think I should do the demo pitch, or what do you think?
Yeah, do demo pitch.
Okay. Do you want to at least like whip out the product so we could actually, I don't know if you want to like mess around with it in the background and then take a shot at it afterwards. Cool.
Virtual drum roll, Mukhtar.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. So nice virtual drum roll, guys. So proof pass shows a simple idea. Prove the fact, not the data. Here's the problem. Most age checks ask for too much. If I need to prove I'm over 18, I'm usually end up sharing my full ID, my birth date, and other personal details that are verified. Verifier does not actually need. Proof pass changes that flow. On the screen, I start the identity flow. I connect the subject wallet. I don't know if you want to do that as we go. Okay. There we go. Enter the claimed credential details and upload an ID image. So there's our ID image. You want to pop in the details. The document is processed by the OCR verifier off-chain. That means the raw document is not written to the blockchain. The verifier extracts the fields it needs, checks the match, and creates a signed attestation that only contains the public claim. In this case, the claim is simply whether this wallet belongs to someone over the age of 18. Must I slow down, or do you mind if I continue, Vikas?
No, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
Let's give it a sign. Oh, and there we go.
So now you store the that attestation on chain, what goes on chain is not the ID image and not the full personal record. The chain only gets the signed verification results and the metadata needed to trust it. Then I switched to the Veriflow. Here, relay party only enters the wallet address and reads the attestation from chain. The result is a pass or fail, plus who signed it and whether it is still valid. So we can see it's verified and valid. So the verifier learns the outcome, not the underlying identity data. That is the whole point of pass proof, privacy first verification, minimal on-chain state, and a demo that makes the trust model verifiable. Verify anything, reveal nothing. What good live clicks? Okay, this is about a whole bunch of other stuff. Open homepage and frame. There we go. And you can go to the identity. And then you can connect the wallets, and we've uploaded a sample document. We've ran the OCR and point the extraction results plus attestation. Cool.
Yeah.
So we've done all of it.
That's it.
So pretty much the important thing to notice is the architecture, document review, what happens off chain, and the verifier signs a minimal claim. So sorry guys, I think that's pretty much it for me. Yeah, thanks Vickers.
No, that's it. That's the one.
Cool. What do you think, Warren? Did we blow your socks off? Do you want to invest 100 million, please?
It's great. It's great. I'm just thinking GDPR wise, if I wanted to delete my data.
So it's not keeping your data, it's only keeping a hash of your data. So yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's absolutely great, man.
So
This is cool.
we actually ran into that problem because we were going to use IPFS to
Yeah.
store everything. And the problem with that is you can't delete it. And so we actually had to redesign as we were designing, because the conclusion we came to is eventually that security is no longer going to be secure enough for the most modern PC, and someone will be able to break that data that is online. And because of the GDPR component, we actually couldn't have that. And so we ripped it out and we went in another route.
That's fantastic. And when the validity of the ID document expires, how do you update that?
1 hour. So currently it's 1 hour. So you would just have to I don't know, Vickers, do you want to add it, because it's on testnet as well?
Yeah, it's just valid for 1 hour.
Brilliant.
But we can obviously change it to whatever time frame we would want. And then now it's only using, it's scanning the document to extract the date of birth and then calculating the age to then determine over 18 or not. But that does not limit us to what else we can store. So we can add more details to it, more checks.
Yeah.
It can be converted into almost like the bursary application type thing, where you upload your results from your matric and all those things, and then it can scan that and extract your pass marks and all of those type of things.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's very much like, sorry, I just wanted to say it's very much like the VChain supply chain models. It's great for storing data. It's literally what Walmart uses in general, basically indirectly. It's a very cool approach.
Yeah, so this actually was born out of the idea of hospital lines and hospital data, and how you could actually speed it up as well. So it's a very interesting way where you can actually, where you need identifiable information, but how long do you want that identifiable information to be available? So the original idea was also around how we could have patient data accessible to doctors, but only being on chain and accessible by a doctor for so long. And for example, that could be 2 weeks where you go there for 1 week. You go there that day. If you need a follow-up, you're going to come back within a week. At 2 weeks, you assumed healthy. That's just been the normal pattern. But then there's also the hospital side, and the hospital needs to keep the data for 5 years because of HIPAA. And you know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that we could actually do to design and share these components. So your hospital form could be one thing, and then your medical data could be another thing. And then you could actually link these medical results. It's basically personable, identifiable information. So anything about you that you would want to carry through the world, that you need to carry through the world with you, you'd be able to attach it on-chain in various ways. So if you want to have one version where it's your whole academic profile and using that to apply for jobs, you could use that. If you want something for medical, you could use it for medical. If you want something just so you can get in the club, there's a version for that too. And there was a whole bunch of other cool, fun things that we wanted to do. But yeah, because we wanted to use zero knowledge proofs and like a whole bunch of crazy stuff at the beginning. But we kind of talked ourselves out of it because of the time that we had to build this.
Yeah, and most of it was done during these sessions as well, except for the night before last, where I just cleaned up the front end and got the OCR extraction slightly more beefed up, so it can extract a barcode as well.
It's really great. I love what you guys have done.
I say.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, I'd like to get some opinions from everyone else. Like, what do you guys think of the tool? Like, this is the first time we've like tested it out. Well, we did test it out yesterday, but like tested it out, presented it. Like, where do you think the application could be? How could we improve it? Thoughts, guys?
Well, personally, I like that there's a limit on availability of the information. I love that feature. It's so important. Yeah, I'm impressed with that feature. I wasn't even aware you were doing it. It's very impressive.
I definitely think it will reduce onboarding time. So I remember when SubSub introduced liveness check, how that just shortcutted what needed to happen through an onboarding flow. I think this would be a great tool. I'm trying to figure out if it'll sit on the enterprise side or some compliance SaaS product, but I do think it'll be a great way to shortcut onboarding,
Yeah.
No, thanks, hey. I think there was like, we wanted to actually add like a liveness checker in, and a few other things, because there was also the golden source of truth. So you actually have to go to Home Affairs, you have to ask Home Affairs to provide a value, whether that exists or doesn't exist. And then there's also verifying the document, comparing, does this look like a Zimbabwean identity document, because they don't have an API. As far I have been told that they don't have an API, so you can't actually verify user for user or Zimbabwean user for Zimbabwean user. I've been told this. I'm not saying that it's true. I'm just saying that I've been told this by a KYC company. So essentially, there are a lot of cool things that you could do with this, and there's a lot of ways where it can actually grow into a fully fledged enterprise tool, and it'd be cool to see if we could get it there. But that's like, yeah, another story. So Warren, do you think we should do it? Go for an enterprise solution?
I think you should. It's such a important feature nowadays, in all fairness. I mean, I know for a fact from the VChain side, there are so many different, what are they called? RWAs right now that are being scanned and monitored and checked and tracked just using tools like this. And if you can extract certain types of information without, showcasing everything like you've done, there's a hell of a lot of opportunity in it. Yeah.
Very cool. Thanks.
It's great.
Michael, do you have anything that you want to add? CD?
I was
Okay, cool, sorry.
thinking if we get Congress to make sure that everybody is of age on Pornhub, that might be a way to get adoption.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's a bit controversial, but yeah, fair enough. There would be an interesting application for that. Paul?
Yeah, actually, I just recalled, isn't there an underage movement, digital movement currently going around, forcing kids under the age of 18 to have accounts in order for like regions
That
in the
was
EU?
UK, wasn't it?
Was it UK?
It was UK that basically put that ban in place, and you basically had to identify yourself before you logged into websites. And they also they tried to ban VPNs. There was like a whole bunch of crazy
That's
stuff
right.
going on.
That's
It's
right.
like,
That's
yeah.
right. So I think that the tussle that's currently happening is whether to enforce it as a policy level or whether that's still a privacy issue. But the issue is trending. So I think this tool comes out at exactly the right time.
No, fair enough. But yeah, then we have to actually get the GDPR compliance, which would be quite interesting. So yeah, but thanks for the push. That's actually something I didn't think about, Mike and Paul. So definitely a direction we can look at to actually validate a user's age in an online realm, because there's far greater applicability than just banks and medical. There's a lot of niches that you can look at. Chidi, I don't know if you want to add anything. Or you curious about anything? Okay, cool. Vikas, what do you think? You want to add some stuff? Or do you think we're just done and now we can finally chill?
I think we can chill for now,
Cool.
but not too idle. We need to maybe try with Stellar and see if we can maybe do it on a different chain.
Okay, cool. Now I'd be interested to see how we could actually grow this and iterate it. I would say give it a week, and then see how we do stuff. But I do actually want to do some other things in terms of growing this, because now like people are giving me ideas. They're like, yeah, let's do it, let's build it. So I think it's cool. But yeah, no, it's been really cool. Do you guys want to stay on and chat for a bit? I'm going to end the recording and then we can see what happens. Is that cool? Cool. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate you, Vikas. Thank you so much for doing all the hard coding and heavy lifting. And appreciate all you guys for rocking up, especially Warren. Warren, thank you so much. Your insights, knowledge, understanding on the topic really illuminated what it takes to take a project to a hackathon, but also just gave me insights into how we could better design this next time, or what the applicability of it next time, and how to really just play with this idea. So thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.